It was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Be like
forward.
a horse with blinkers.
Honestly say, I was about to have
Corrupt
sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
My name is Monde Kula. I live in Kuyasa in Kailicha. I am a director of Inkulego in Mind.
My name is Sinathemba Makyobeni. I'm a volunteer of Public Transport Voice. I'm staying here in Kailicha side PW section.
My name is Masame. I'm a freelance artist. I'm working to the program of the kids called Storytelling here in Kailicha and in primary schools.
My name is Thandikai Ngosani. I run a campaign called 10 Cents for Life and also Bambelela Healing Arts Foundation.
My name is Monde Sitole from Kailicha. I run Monde Sitole Educational Strategies Foundation.
When you look at our upbringing, you know, within South Africa's state now, there's no actually constructive educational structure for early childhood development. There's much emphasis on your primary and your high school and your universities, but you see that the ground level is so important because those are the early stages of a child learning and feeling society itself, and also learning indirectly, you know, from what is happening in our society. But the question is also lies is that does the education structure actually produces what the economy needs of this country, what the future needs of this country, and therefore is that translated on the down level? Because policies could be made on the upper level, but if it doesn't translate it in the down level, and those on the and when kids are growing up understand what are their mandates as they're growing up, and also the parents and the communities know that, so the economy itself cannot really produce a society in which it can be sustainable on its own and also independent and also grow the economy to the standard where everyone else is in the same intellectual level, but we're not going to be on the same level, but of an understanding and knowing what goal that we need to do as a society and what do we need to produce for ourselves to be able to grow ourselves as individuals and the whole country.
We are having some sort of the academics. It doesn't produce people who can translate the English into the different languages, the different official languages that we have in the country. So what we are going to have now, you are going to be taught in Xhosa as a home language, which is you have a choice of choosing two at school. So then you will have your Xhosa language, then you have the second language. Then the second language will dominate your first language because you are going to learn all other subjects on your second language. So it doesn't give you that space to connect your experiences with what you are being taught at school.
As much as English is taking over, it's something that has been happening for centuries and ages and ages. Because in our schools, as the person who studied in the Xhosa schools, I did my primary in Umangalis and my high school in Joslov. But the only subject that was taught in Xhosa was Xhosa only. All other languages were taught in English. So I was like, why? But you can teach me history in Xhosa as in telling me, okay, so like you can try to convert it into Xhosa so that I can easily understand. Because I believe most of the people do fail their classes because they do understand what is being talking about, but they are not good in English.
You know, also I was saying that how do you express yourself in your own language, or how do you express yourself when there are efforts to silence you? And one of the reasons I'm saying that is that I work with another publishing company based here in Kailicha called Logical Books. So its effort was to be able to then train people into writing their own books. It has produced many books. Like a friend of mine has written his own book. There's a couple of people that live in Kailicha that have written their own books. And part of that, there's a struggle within the sphere of literature, especially especially here in Cape Town. My experience is that a lot of people are writing books, but you'd find that in libraries there's a half section when you find a small section of Xhosa books, very small section. Those books are translated in English, and those books are translated from English, actually, I want to say. And those people that wrote those books per se is not actually people of Xhosa descendants.
Sasinoncwadi kwaTance lwalungabhalwanga, lwaluluncwadi lemveli, yayiluncwadi olududwayo, lalujekulwa, lalusebenzisa izafobe, izaci namaqhalo. Zazingekho izandi mhlawumbi ezisebenzisa ulwimi olungxangiweyo, laluthethwa ngokuthe tye. Oluncwadi ndithetha ngalo luncwadi oluye lanako ukuthetha ngeziganeko ezenzekileyo kwilizwe lethu. Oluncwadi namhlanje lubhaliwe ngoba lenziwe layingqokelela. Lona belusetyenziswa nangubani na, bengekho mntu uthi hayi luncwadi yincwadi yam lena. Wonke umuntu ebelithatha alisebenzise kugqithe kufike nabanye balisebenzise. Ngoko ke olwaa hlobo lokubalisa lona kuthe kwawufika impucuko zasentshona lacinywa, kwasetyenziswa ke ngoku iindlela zoshicilela. Kuthiwa ke uncwadi lwemveli alurekhodwa ngoba abeke larekhodwa luzawuphumpeka.
I think South African education system academically is so capitalized. It's for capital purposes, because when you pass your grade 12, the education system take you from the society which you grew up in and go and stay in a res where you'll be in a, what is it called, second class, middle class. You'll be in a middle class society or some sort. Then when you're done, when you're done with your education, you'll see all those people you're growing up with as a third class or some sort of thing. You see yourself better than them. So I think education system of South Africa, that's what it creates. It separates people from their backgrounds and stuff.
You are tapping on what is called miseducation. If I will to just to refer to what you are saying. I was reading this book. It's called Miseducation. What I found there, it's talking about some Negroes who think they are better than the others in a way of communicating with the other people. And then I found that no, man, actually this thing is happening. I mean, once I'm educated, you know, then I tend to want to live in town and live this Khayelitsha and live. I think that life is gonna be better for me. Whereas I'm supposed to take that education and entail it back to where I am, so that if I'm talking about service, service deliver and all these things, I'm practicing in my society, not to the other society. Because if I'm staying in town, there is no kid who's going to come in my house and ask me, teacher, can you help me in this homework? Can you help me in this? I'll be alone with my wife or my children and alone. And in fact, so that is one of the challenges. And I would say that is a indolence or what you call dependent syndrome of being like controlled, and then you want it to be yourself and selfish and not try to bring the fish to where it's supposed to be, you know. Yeah.
I guess you know, one of the things that you're able to understand in terms of education itself and also ourselves as human beings is that education has been placed in a more your intellectual level, and education has never been placed. It's made so complex on itself, but education is actually simple in so many ways. It's simplified. It's whatever that you learned and you're able to apply. So you learn something now, you apply it. And therefore also, there's also sort of like a cultural education. So there's not a direct cultural education between us. How do we make education as a norm and also part of our society? And how do then use that? And I think that is missing within our society.
The means to try to make a cultural education, we don't have a cultural education, but we do have some sort of different cultures within the societies. So we do have the culture of alcoholists, we have the culture of drugs, we have the culture of the corrupt politicians within the ground level, we have the culture, different cultures, but then the culture of education is lacking. So it's not quite easy for some sort of the children to get the inspiration within the society. So there is no people who are inspiring or who are sort of kind of the role models within the society. Because people who are in the societies are the role models in crime. Maybe they are good in being gunslinger. We have that type of characters within the society. So those kind of characters are indirectly or directly molding the lives of the children who are trying to emerge.
We might grow politically, we might grow financially, but emotionally we still very much have not grown. We grow chronologically, but we actually, as he's saying, we need a space where it's non-intimidating, a space where you can actually, it's like a cathartic space, you see. But for us, our most thing that has actually been very surprising is that the only reaction that has been surprising has been from the leaders and from the policymakers, because the kids, because we work with education and we work with young people, the people who are in power, the teachers and everyone, are the ones who are actually they're not eager and keen to change, you see. But the kids actually now, because they're now disengaged, and they don't see actually a need to go to school, because school does. And it's very sad, because when young people are young, they're very at their most sharp at self, they are most at their greatest versions of themselves, because even the best companies were found by young people, you see. But nowadays our young people just go to school, memorize and regurgitate, and even with the Fees Must Fall campaign, I feel as if even the kids who are partaking in that have not actually grasped the entirety of the whole campaign. Because when we talk about education, when we are advocating about education, we're not talking about employment. We're talking about the future of Africa at a global scale. We're talking about trying to rescue Africa from aid and all this stuff, so Africa can become sustainable, you see.
You refer to the creative ways of making the children, like in ways of bringing them up. As you teach them, you teach them skills, because when you're doing storytelling, you teach children how to get a fish. You're not teaching them you teach them how to go and catch your fish.
Because that's what we're fighting for, is an empowering education, where when a child actually sees rubbish or waste, how can the child fit themselves in the picture of trying to solve a solution towards that? Maybe try a recycling or an upcycling project. If there's no bridge in their communities, how can they themselves conceptualize an idea and try means in actually trying to solve this? Because if you're talking about the future and you're not actually involving yourself as part of that future, that is why we try to actually even conceptualize the scholarship program, where we used local business people from the communities, because we have this hypocritical mindset of trying to be helped by an Anglo-American or whomsoever who's there, but our typical Brabiza is not doing anything for our community.
I think South Africa lacked the educational capital. Most of the kids that we are talking about here in this society are the kids of the illiterate parents. So it's not easy to come up with some sort of a formulation from the community that school is this much important, because these people have the barrier of poverty in between.
Yeah. Where there's education, there's not supposed to be any poverty, because education is supposed to be pragmatic, it's supposed to be meaningful. It's not about just getting a job, because nowadays we just go to school because of a deep condition fear that we might not get a job. So Africa does not develop. We're thinking short term, we're not thinking about the entirety of the problem.
What we all talk about, for me, is now present and also future. How do we cultivate and start cultivating and implementing the culture of creative thinking, the culture of imagination, the culture of foreseeing something, and therefore in the present start unfolding it and start molding it for the future? For me, it's one of those things that how can we then start putting that in our homes, in our community, in our schools, in our governments, so that they can able to spark the imagination within us of seeing something as a unit, so that we could start creating that together.
My dream is to create the catalyst, innovative thinkers.
My dream is to see South Africa that is led by youth, not some old freedom fighters.
In my dream, I see the community, from a local and global community, working together in collaborative efforts to be able to create the society we envision for ourselves.
My dream is to create a society where citizens are active enough to challenge the policies and be the policymakers of the society and try to unify the societies. And
My dream is to see young people pioneer their own strides towards the future that they envisage, the future that they want, and not waiting for any outside help for that, but empowered youth.
Yazi, you should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong. You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong.
Bambelela Healing Arts Foundation.
My name is Monde Sithole from Khayelitsha. I run Monde Sithole Educational Strategies Foundation.
When you look at our upbringing, you know, there's within South Africa's state now, there's no actually constructive educational structure for early childhood development. There's much emphasis on your primary and your high school and your universities.
I'm a volunteer of public transport voice. I'm staying here in Khayelitsha side PW section.
My name is Masame. I'm a freelance artist. I'm working to the program of the kids called Storytelling here in Khayelitsha and in primary schools.
My name is Thandikaya Ngosani. I run a campaign called 10 Cents for Life. And also because policies could be made on the upper level, but if it doesn't translate it in a down level, and those on the and when kids are growing up understand what are their mandates as they're growing up, and also the parents and the communities know that. So the economy itself cannot really produce a society in which it can be sustainable on its own and also independent, and also grow the economy to the standard where everyone else is in the same intellectual.
It was a can.
Not voting.
If we want to build our nation,
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move forward.
A horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have
Corrupt,
sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
My name is Monde Kula. I live in Kuyasa in Khayelitsha. I am a director of Inkulego in Mind.
My name is Snat.
But you see that the ground level is so important, because those are the early stages of a child learning and feeling society itself, and also learning indirectly, you know, from what is happening in our society. But the question is also lies is that does the education structure actually produces what the economy needs of this country, what the future needs of this country, and therefore is that translated on the down level?